But what would you do from like a neurological standpoint to get somebody more confident?
It is action. The more inaction you take, the harder it's going to be to get the ball rolling. It's momentum. Confidence is momentum. One of the best things you can do for your brain, for your creativity, for problem solving, new ideas, is to be bored, and we never let ourselves be bored. Feeling is everything. Emotions are everything. If you can tie something to emotion, it becomes memorable. And intentional sigh is so good to regulate your nervous system. It's very important that you always do something that's for yourself. If you're always living for someone else, those people are going to need you less and less, and you're going to feel redundant.
What do you hope people say about you?
That I help change their relationship with themselves.
If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, pause this and go back. I promise you it'll make a lot more sense. If you've already listened to part 1, welcome back. Let's go. Speaking of work, you've just wrapped up your live shows. I was fortunate to come to the Sydney one. Loved seeing you in action.
Thank you.
I was like, it's my girl. We used to do dumb shit at fitness events, and she's now up here with a full army of people. And I think the thing, I said this to you before, the thing that surprised me the most about your live shows was the demographic of people that came. Like, you had really, really young people there. You had women who were potentially 50, 60 plus with their daughters, or on their own with their own friends. How do you find, like, there's always this saying when it comes to like marketing, creating your audience, what's that one like character of your key target market of who you're talking to? And I really reflected on that when I left your podcast, and I was like, who the fuck is she talking to? Because it's literally like such a broad dynamics of people that came to your live show. How do you make sure that you're creating content that talks to all of them?
Yeah, I thought about that as well, thinking, well, if it's not age related, even though when you look at the data, most of my audience, like around 75 to 80%, is between 25 and 35. But when it comes to actually like meeting people in person, all of that, you get such a big range of people. And I think instead of looking at age, sometimes you look at what has led them to the podcast. And I think one of the common themes is people who have gone on a journey with their relationship with themselves. People who have, most people find my podcast through a hard time in their life. Not everyone. Like, some people find me through like an interview podcast or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, I could learn something from that. But a lot of people, whether it's a heartbreak, whether it's, whether it's like a really pivotal time in their life where they really struggled, whether it's depression, times of, they got fired and they're lost and they don't know what they want to do with their life, and then they found the podcast. So it was like these people find me in these big pivotal moments in their life where they really need that like oomph to better the relationship with themselves, or they feel like they're going to crumble. That's when they found the podcast. So I feel like whether you're 60 or whether you're 20, you can relate. Like, we all go through our hard times. And yeah, they say, I found you in this time, and now, like, multiple people came up to me in the live show and said to me along the lines of the same thing. In our group, we always text each other saying, what would Alexis do? So like they have like, I was like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So like when like a lot of friends all listen to the podcast and they've got a group chat about it. And so if they're saying, oh, what do I do about this, whatever, well, what would Alexis say to you? They're like, well, she'd probably say this, and then it helps them reframe how to approach something. Yeah. So I was like, that's just amazing.
And I'd love, like, the idea of doing a live show is so cool, because I think when you're podcasting, like right now, I've got my team, we've got Shania, and it's you and I. Like, there's no one here, and you don't get that like direct feedback. You get nothing until it goes live. And even when it does go live, 9 times out of 10 people won't comment, or they won't say, hey, I love that episode, but they might see you a year down the track and be like, hey, I'm really loving your podcast. And you're like, why the fuck haven't you commented?
Yeah. Like tell
me.
But a lot of people don't comment. A lot of people
don't. A lot of people will just listen and consume
and share it, maybe.
Share it, tell people about it, but then that's it. So how do you find the difference between like actually seeing your audience?
It's incredible.
And then podcasting on its own?
So different, because I feel like I obviously love the podcast, but it feels like a one-way relationship. It's at times where they know me, but I don't know them. And when I meet my audience, even though I don't have that much insight into their life, I do through the listener questions and stuff, but I feel like I feel like I know them, but I don't. It's like this weird connection that you have to them. And honestly, whenever you do your live show, which you should do please do. We are manifesting a live show. It's the best thing ever, honestly. And you feel their energy on stage. It's incredible. And you have kind of this like throw and catch of energy when you're on stage and chatting to them and they're like laughing or responding back, or it's honestly the best. And it's kind of like you reap everything you've sowed. You know, you've put all this work into the podcast, and then being there, seeing these people that have put in an effort to come. I had people that came from Canada, New Zealand, LA, like around the world were coming to Sydney for the live show. And it was incredible. Like it's unbelievable to meet these people, have these conversations face to face and hear how it impacted their life in all these individual different ways. Yeah, that's like the cherry on top.
Yeah. Crazy. I think even I, like when I left, I reflected on it because I was like, wow, when I met you, I was like figuring we both were. We were figuring our lives out. We were like, what are we going to do? Like, where are we going to go? Let's just have fun at this event. And we'd be texting each other back and forth. Are you going to this event? Oh, thank God, because I don't want to like go to stand with those other people.
And like, I'm always front and center at this jungle fever class or whatever it was.
Always. I don't know why. My name is always on the mat right at the front.
And you're like, I don't know dance choreography. I'm at the front. Yeah.
But I was always put at the front.
Because you were probably so like confident and probably so social as well that they were like, she'd be good to have at the front because she'd talk to everyone around her.
She'll be right.
Yeah.
Just leave her at the front.
Complain about us putting her right at the front.
Yeah, but I feel like when we first met and we became friends, like we were both at this phase in our life where we were just figuring shit out. We were like, neither of us knew what we wanted to do. Neither of us were like, we loved what we were doing at the moment, but like at that point in time, it was like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then looking at you at your live show, I was like, both of us are so different now. And I'm like, wow, to be able to come and watch that show with my now partner and like be at the stage of life that I'm at, you're at the stage of life that you're at with your twins and Tyrone and building your empire. And I was just like, this is so fucking cool to kind of watch someone's evolution over a period of time.
I know.
So yeah, I just want to say like what an honor it was to sit there and like soak it up and see you literally in your element. And people just like admiring you as they should. But like you've helped so many people, and to visualize that many people in a room.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
It's so cool. It's so cool. It was so good when I saw you like in the half point. I'm like,
which was so funny because I didn't even mean to. I was like, I'm not going to go say hi because she's doing her own thing and she's got to go get. And then when you have the cards passed, I was like, I'm going to go find somebody else that I've never not even looked at. And I walked to the front and then you were like, hey. I was like, oh, hey. And then I felt bad because then I felt like there was a line of other people, but then came and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I was like, oh, sorry. Anyway, now, okay, let's say, for example, I'm manifesting a live show.
Yep.
What's the one thing that you've learned from doing live shows that you're like, oh, if I knew that then, I would have done something differently or it would have changed how I do it?
Well, I kind of did. So the first live show I ever did was literally just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what would stick. So it was 2 years ago in Sydney. And I just did the Sydney live show. And I had people come up. I had like a Q&A. I did kind of a little bit of a speech. But it was great because it gauged what the live show would be like. It gauged the interest of my audience. Would they even want a live show? And they did. The feedback was all good. So technically I could have repeated that concept. But deep down I was like, that was a bit of a shit show. I think I can learn from that and turn it into a much better, much, more structured show. And then so we did like a very short segment of Q&A at the end. We had such good feedback from the Q&A that then when I did the tour, we almost made one half where it was more structured without it being all over the place like it was, where I had a theme for the live show, which was lost, but make it look intentional. And I take people on these like 10 steps through their life. And then we had the intermission, and then I had a full another 40 minutes of Q&A because people loved the Q&A. And that's the feedback we kept getting. Are you sure that these questions are, because like I was like answering all these questions off the bat and they're like, but you answer it so seamlessly. Are these actually pre-planned question, whatever? It's like, yeah, but I do that on the podcast all the time.
Totally.
Like, so like all the head noise episodes and stuff where it's listener questions. So it was really cool to do it live on the spot where people would scan a QR code, write in a question, flick it up on the screen. You got to answer it on the spot. So sometimes you just got to gauge with the audience. What are they going to love? What is it? We added in a meet and greet, a proper meet and greet instead of just a quick photo. We had like time to chat with people and things like that before and after the event. So there were all these little things that you tweak. But I think it is important important to ask your audience, what do you want to see the most? They're the ones that are coming. And a lot of the time, they're going to come to your live show not even knowing what it's about because they want to see you. A lot of the time, they say, I don't care what the live show's about. I just want to come to support you because I've gotten all this free content for such a long time. You're doing a live show. I don't care. I'll just buy a ticket. Like, a lot of people are just there to support you, to show their gratitude for, I could just sit down in a chair and be like, well, what do we do? And they'll be like, oh my God, great. Because they're just grateful for 5 years of free content, So most of the people were like, we didn't care what it was about. But the pressure's there because they're paying to see me. I feel I have to perform now. But when you realize that they're there because they want to see just more of you, you don't have to put so much pressure on what you have to deliver. They're not expecting something that you've never done before. They just want to see you in action. So whether you interview people on stage, whether you go even through a list of like, what were my key moments in the history of my podcast so far and things like that. It doesn't matter, my key learning lessons and my top 10 lessons that I learned, and you break it down. And I don't think people would mind what it was about as long as it's consistent with what you do.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see. That's what they like. They're there for you,
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, who knows? Who knows?
Yes.
Maybe we'll come back to this in 2 years' time. Who knows?
Oh my God. Yeah, in 2 years, you would have less than 2 years, you would have done your live show.
Crazy.
So can't wait.
I literally was like, it's funny to me because even podcasting, I'm like, I know that people listen. I can see the numbers on every episode. I can see it climbing. Like, the fact that the last 2 years we've been in the top 10% of video podcasts in Australia. Crazy. But I'm like, who are they all?
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to meet people and talk to them or help them and workshop problems that they're facing within their business or their brand or whatever. So watch this space. Anyway, before we get into the quick fire questions, you know that I'm going to ask you questions about the brain because that's where my happy space is. And I feel like I'm so interested in that subject matter, but I avoid asking you these questions when we're at dinner because I'm like, it's not a therapy session.
I wouldn't mind.
I actually say to my friends all the time if they know that we're friends or they've seen that we've gone to dinner, they're like, I love her content or whatever. And they're like, oh, did you talk to her about this? And I was like, well, no, because like, she's not my therapist. Like, she's my friend and I want to talk to her about like her life too. Like, yes, you're a great sounding board, but I think like I always selfishly have these like brain questions at the end of these episodes because I'm like, I need the answers.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. One of the questions I get a lot of is, well, people see how confident I am on camera. Not always the case, but they see how confident I am and they're like, how can I become more confident? I'm a big believer in the fact that confidence follows action. So you've got to do the thing repeatedly to become confident. Confident isn't something that you just get off the shelf and you're like, well, now I'm confident.
Yeah.
But what would you do from like a neurological standpoint to get somebody more confident?
You hit the nail on the head saying that it is action. The more inaction you take, the harder it's going to be to get the ball rolling. It's momentum. Confidence is momentum if you think about it. So if I'm at a perfect standstill and I wait and wait and wait, that ball that I'm trying to roll down the hill gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. So just to get up, same as like, it's anything you're overthinking. Say you want to start like chatting on your stories on social media and you keep putting it off. You're thinking, not only are you delaying it, but you keep thinking, oh no, but then this would be wrong. Oh no, I've got to wait to that. So now you've not only stalled, but you've created 1,000 reasons of what could be better that you're going to wait for and what could go wrong if you did do it. And then how embarrassing if I did this. So then you're just waiting. And then you never get up on camera and just say, hey guys, whatever. I looked back at the stories because I didn't realize, but all my stories used to save to my camera roll. So sometimes they were like, hey, and a memory from like, then I stopped doing that because my camera roll was like getting way too full. But then you look at some and I would look at the stories and I'd think, wow, at the early days, I could tell that I was putting it on. It wasn't natural, but I had to do it. You almost need to expect it to be a bit garbage. If you are okay with putting out a tiny bit of garbage for a little bit, because you'll be surprised how quickly it becomes easy. Just a little bit. Get the ball rolling. Don't make it too big. Don't make it so flashy. Just jump on the stories and think, like, I heard this thing the other day and it was so great. I even named a chapter after this in the book that I just wrote, but it is everything you want is on the other side of cringe, right?
Love.
So it's like, if I'm not willing to go through this cringe moment, because you're not confident, that's where confidence does not exist if you feel cringe, then I'm not going to get to what I want. So if I can think, okay, this is cringe, and my family or friends might be like behind my back, oh, lol, she's like doing stories now. Blah, blah. I can live with that. Okay, I can live with someone saying, oh my God, how embarrassing. I can live if someone I knew sent content that I did to someone being like, haha, look at her. Could I live? Yes. Am I going to die? No. Okay, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And then in once it becomes part of my job, podcasting, whatever, or social media, they're going to forget it, and it becomes, everyone's gone through that embarrassing stage where you might not have that many followers and you're trying to do something, you're trying to get something off the ground. Nobody thought, oh my God, I just put out the best piece of content ever. I mean, maybe some delusional people, but in general, you're going to you question it, you guess, you second guess, you think, oh. In my opinion, confidence comes from being okay with putting out something that's you're not 100% happy with.
Yeah.
No, it can't be garbage.
Yeah.
But something,
No, I get that. There's this quote that's like, similar to your cringe one, that's like, embarrassment is the price of entry.
Yeah.
And it's like, as long as you're happy with being embarrassed for a period of time, like that's the thing that's going to get you to.
And the beauty of it is when someone does laugh, it's for they don't base their life around you. They'll laugh and then they're on to the next thing. Trust me. Like they even if they do, because people say no one's thinking about. They are. People are ruthless. They are thinking about you and they're going to laugh at you. But it's not for nowhere near as long as you think.
Yeah.
They might send your story to someone. Lol, she tried this and it bombed. And then they're on to the next thing that they're laughing about. It's not. You can't base a life decision. I'm not going to do this thing based on the fleeting thought of somebody else that they're judging you, because you will be judged. But isn't that like you said, it's the point of entry? Because when you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, there's going to be people that either judge you because it actually is shit, or they're going to judge you because they're uncomfortable that you've done something that they always wanted to do and then they couldn't do, and then they're trying to pull you a few pegs down so they can feel a little, so it's either one of those reasons.
Yeah.
Both of which you can live with. So that's where, and confidence, when we talk about confidence, that's the starting point. Yeah. Every athlete who you see at the Olympics, they were terrible at one point. Imagine if after the first session, all those athletes thought, oh my God, I'm like fucking shame, mortified, and then didn't go on.
Throw in the towel.
Everything, like my first podcast episode, the first time I ever did an acting class, the first time probably your first ever client. It's not the service that now you're offering to your clients.
Totally.
So imagine if we all stopped at the first attempt. Think about it, not just from when you put yourself publicly, but any work that you do.
What is the worst thing that you can do for your brain?
One of the worst things is a sedentary lifestyle. That's really unhealthy for the brain. Really unhealthy. Really unhealthy. Just sitting all day long. Screens is also really bad. Not just, there's recent studies that came out, very recent in the last couple of months, where screen time with children showed a reduction in white matter in the brain. So it's really scary, but then that's happening to adults as well.
And for the uninitiated, white matter is?
So white matter, so there's grey matter and white matter. White matter is kind of the fat that wraps around, it's called myelin, and it's a fat encasing that wraps around the axons of cells. So it's how cells communicate. So imagine like a cable and the coating of the cable. Yep. And if that white matter is there, then the signal either doesn't get sent, it gets sent really slowly, or it gets sent inadequately. And so then you're getting this mix up in signals. The brain is not communicating efficiently or properly. That's why you get, really like difficulty regulating emotions, difficulty with regulating impulses and things like that. So you're seeing children who cannot for the life of them regulate their emotions when you pull them away from a screen. Whereas back in the day, if you were to pull them away from a regular game, they might get a bit upset, but then they would calm down. Whereas like it's a full meltdown tantrum with the screen. It's like you're teaching addiction early on. And we do it as adults. We can just mask it a lot better, but we're just as addicted as the children are. So screens and a sedentary lifestyle, terrible.
What's great for your brain?
Sleep.
That's it.
A lot. Sleep is a huge one. Yeah. So I always say, number one, if you're going to focus on one thing to get right before you start trying to improve other things, I would number one ask, is my sleep good? If it's not, start there. And when I talk about sleep, also the tail end of the day, so the last hour before you sleep, and the top end, because if you're on your phone on the last hour of the day, that's damaging your sleep. If you're having caffeine or alcohol in the last hour, that's going to affect the quality of your sleep, that kind of stuff. And then how am I waking up? Am I waking up with stress, and am I checking my email? Oh my God, I've got to... Or am I waking up peacefully and starting my day without being bombarded? So that's important. Then the next one is sunlight and exercise, probably on par.
Yeah.
Sunlight to set the circadian rhythm. If you've got a healthy circadian rhythm, you're actually more likely to be happier than if you've got a scattered shot to pieces circadian rhythm. Sunlight is a huge indicator of happiness, massively. That's why people in places with really dark winters have seasonal affective disorder, which is like seasonal depression. Yeah.
It rains today and I'm like,
and they actually get depressed, like in these countries where it's really dark, and the therapy is sitting in a really bright light box. That's the therapy for that disorder. Yeah.
If you, knowing what you know about the brain and knowing what you know about how people interpret things, are influenced by things due to neuroscience, if you had to create the perfect brand that stayed in people's minds using what you know about the brain, are there 2 to 3 principles that you would look to like nail?
Such a good question.
I was thinking about this the other night. I was like, neuroscience plays such a huge role in how we interact with people.
Massively. And psychology.
Psychology.
Everything like
why we think the way that we think, why we buy the way that we buy. And I studied marketing psychology, which I love and could talk about for hours.
Oh, yeah.
But what I was thinking, is there anything from a like standpoint of influence or, biases or anything like that from a neurological standpoint that if we were to use those principles to create a brand?
Yeah. Well, look, I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, I feel like I would need a lot of time to answer that question. But one thing that I found, so I used to work at Red Bull as on the wings team. So I was just a casual, but they would always bring us into their planning meetings and they really gave you insight into how the brand works. And I've never found a more fascinating brand, because initially from the outside you think, oh, this is an energy drink company. It's actually a marketing company, right? Like their marketing is top tier because of the association to the brand. At no point do you ever hear anything about the flavour of the Red Bull, ever. They're never, I mean, they've got flavours and they've got this and that, but when do you ever hear people banging on about, oh my God, but the flavour and this and that? It's this premium athletes, whatever, you just think, intense sports, you think all this, and so you think, oh yeah, that's what I'm associating myself with as an image, like the psychology behind a brand like that. And many brands do something similar, but I've just got more of an insight into Red Bull. But I thought, like, that's crazy psychology in their brand. There's some
feeling, right?
Yeah, it's a feeling. You're trying to. I'm trying to emulate. Like the brand has such a strong personality that when you go into the shops and choose a drink, you're associating yourself with this image, and that's part of your identity in a way. Like to have such a strong brand presence where you want people to associate themselves to your brand personality, then you've done it right, because you look at so many brands that it's just like a random clothing line, but there's no personality behind it. Like I think you have to create something that's so visceral, and I think they did it right.
Yeah, I agree. Hello, me again. If you keep coming back to top of mind but still haven't hit follow or subscribe, this is your sign. You have no idea how much it means to me. The more follows we get, the better the guests. The more conversations we can be having, the more you can learn for free. Win-win. So go on, hit follow. I'll wait. Okay, now back to the episode. You mentioned sleep before. Outside of sleep, what's one uncomfortable truth that you think most business owners, one uncomfortable truth about the brain that you think most business owners don't want to hear outside of getting more sleep?
Boredom is important.
Space.
Like you need to allow yourself to be bored. We are so hell-bent on being busy, the hustle, the this, that. One of the best things you can do for your brain, for your creativity, for problem solving, for new ideas is to be bored, and we never let ourselves be bored. How often have you gone on a walk with I was talking about this just today, with no stimulation whatsoever?
Yeah.
How often have you just gotten home and sat down? How often do you go and sit down just with a pen and paper? Like be bored and allow a stream of consciousness. That's where so much of your problem solving goes down. So much of your new ideas and creativity emerges. We are such creative beings, and we're being bombarded with constant entertainment, that our intelligence is dropping. Like they're saying that the generations coming through for the first time ever are not as intelligent or less intelligent as the generations before them. That's the first time that's happened on record.
Not
and
your
it's
kids.
Because, well, not mine, I'm not going to But yeah, as a cohort, which is really scary unless we do something about it. And it's because we're not allowing for creativity, like real, like brainy ideas. And that only happens when you're bored.
So important. I literally spoke with Ryan, who was a guest that I've interviewed, and he was talking about the same thing. We were talking about creating space and giving yourself time to actually process things and think about things, and, you know, space for thoughts as opposed to trying to come up with a thought with no space. So important.
Oh, massively.
Now, a couple more questions before we get into quickfire. You hinted at it before. You submitted your manuscript for your third book. Fourth.
I know.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
I know. I keep forgetting.
Fourth book.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it's about?
Yes. So I think we're settled on the title, but I don't know if I can say the title yet. But it's basically about the idea of creating.
The publisher.
I'm like, sorry.
It's me.
It's the idea of creating your own timing and not waiting for the right time. Because so often, like we were saying before, waiting for this partner, waiting for this, the myth of the perfect timing, and knowing that it's a myth, this concept of perfect timing. How do we create our own timing? How do we get that momentum, get the confidence, get, you know, the mindset to feel like I can take action on these things and create my own timing in my life? That's what it's about.
When does it launch?
Probably this time next year.
Okay.
I just submitted the draft, the proper hectic draft. So then we have to like work through all of that.
Of your brain.
Then get through the printing. And then obviously they have to then release the book at the right time based on other titles. So it'll be Feb next year. Yeah.
2027. Wild.
Crazy.
Wild.
I know.
Last question before we get into quickfire. What is something that you're insecure about that nobody sees?
Do you know what? This is going to sound really lame, but I get so awkward filming myself in public. So awkward. I can't do it. I can do it when Shania's around because I'm like, oh, I've got like, and it's weird because I'm the first person to say,
film yourself.
Like, it's on the other side of cringe, do these things, whatever. And I'll do it if I have to, but I'm like, I find it jarring.
Okay.
I don't know why. Because when I see someone else do it, I don't think it's jarring.
No.
I think, oh yeah, they're creating content. Like genuinely, couldn't care less.
Actually, it was really funny. I was filming in a whole heap of content around near where I live, just like out in the streets, like filming myself on my phone. And there's so many people that just walked past me that just did not bat an eyelid.
Don't bat an eyelid.
Did not bat an eyelid. And I was actually like, whilst I know no one gives a fuck about what you're doing, or like I always know that there'll be people that have thoughts. And I'm like, but these people literally just walked past me and just like.
Here I am saying, oh my God, holding my phone up and talking to my phone, like, oh, I want to be like, but then I'll Zoom with someone and walk down the street. No one knows the difference. Am I talking to someone or am I talking to myself? Who's going to know the difference? And I don't blink if I'm like, oh, video calling someone walking down the street.
FaceTime, yeah.
People could think I'm filming myself, but I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's like it's all in context. Sometimes we'll create this context out of thin air, thinking, oh my God, but really, firstly, doesn't matter what they think. Secondly, what if they're like, who cares at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Because you're not hurting them. You're not.
No, I love
something to think about.
Something to think about. Quickfire. Time for some quickfire questions.
Okay.
Now, there's some more in here from when you last came.
Okay.
But there are some of the same, which I'm excited to see if it's the same answer for
same.
last time.
Okay,
which I
great.
don't think that they will be because I listened to your episode or our episode that we did this morning and I was, pleasantly surprised. All right, name one brand that first comes to top of your mind.
Formula One.
Why?
I'm obsessed with that. I just love everything about it. I'm a huge fan of Formula One and it's like literally always top of mind for me.
Love.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Yeah. And I want to start a Formula One podcast.
Well, manifest it, doll.
Manifest.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
It probably would be everything you want is on the other side of cringe lately, because it's something that I've thought about a lot with other things that I want to start doing.
Embracing the cringe. Love that. Worst piece of advice you've ever received?
I don't know if this is advice, but when I was announcing my pregnancy and I did a podcast and I was saying that I'm really happy with the partner that I chose, a lot of people were saying, you know, watch out, it's never the same. You're going to be doing 90% of the work. You want to and I just want to turn around and no offense, just laugh in everyone's faces. I'm like, I actually did choose a good partner. Thank you very much. Everyone was like, you say that now, but it's all going to be on you. And I don't know. I think this idea of people like setting you up to be scared for the next chapter of your life and trying to like I don't know, it's not really advice, but I don't like it when people have this idea of you just wait, you wait. I would never do that to someone entering a new and unknown time in their life. If anything, I'd give them helpful tips. I don't like it when people do that. Yeah.
It's the projection of what they've been through.
Yeah.
So
and if you have gone through a hard thing, just say, listen, you might come across this next. And I found it helpful to do this, but say, wait till they're not sleeping. Instead of saying something helpful, like, why instill fear in other people just because you had a bad time? It's like you want them to suffer as well. Yeah, I don't like that.
It says more to me about the person than it does anything else. If you or your business had a theme song, what would it be?
Okay. There's two.
Okay.
One of them is Forever by Tina Cousins, because it's the last, after my podcast live show, it's the song that I play at the end. It's just a banger, right? And the other one, you and I were talking about it, and it's Party Rock Anthem when you're stressed.
Oh, yeah.
And like, remember how we were saying that, like if you're ever crying, you drive a yellow car and we're like, you could never cry in a yellow car. It's too happy. A yellow car is way too happy. It's never happened. It's never happened. Someone has never cried in a yellow car. But the same thing was, this guy was once saying, if I'm ever about to cry, going through a really hard time, I just play Party Rock Anthem really loud and I physically can't cry or be stressed because you just start like
Party rock.
So it's like something that's like probably any song that would be super lighthearted, but you're like, there's no way I can be overly stressed about this moment. So then you go in with a better attitude.
Love.
Yeah.
Theme song. That's going to be the theme song for this podcast for your episode.
Can't wait.
Can't
wait.
If you had to swap businesses with anyone else for a day, who would it be?
For a day?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say like the CEO of Red Bull, who used to be Dietrich Mateschitz, but I don't know who it is now. He's passed away. I don't know who the new CEO is. But that would be a really hard task. Like for them, it'd be really easy. They're like, oh, I'm just going to manage it. And I'd have to manage like a multi-billion-dollar company. So yeah, why not?
See what goes on.
Good times. Yeah.
Love. See if there's any secret sauce that they've got.
Yeah, that's right.
What is your go-to comfort food after a rough day?
So it's my peasant meal. So the peasant meal is this meal that we've had in our family. It's so good. We call it the peasant meal.
Okay.
It's the best. It's my favorite thing. And I once made it for Tara and he's like, this is actually a 10 out of 10 meal. It's just rice, mayonnaise.
Pause.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with rice.
Yes.
I love rice.
Obsessed.
Like more than bread.
Yep, same.
Love rice.
Rice, it's just the best base for anything.
Agreed. Continue.
Rice, mayonnaise, tuna from a can, tinned tuna, a boiled egg that's been mashed up, and green olives from the $2 jars, the cheap green olives. Mix. It's the best thing you've ever had in your life. I'm telling you right now.
I'm going to make it.
It is the best.
I'm going to try it and I'm going to FaceTime you.
I lived on that when I was like in my poverty-stricken era. That was my go-to. Yeah, it was the best. Peasant meal. And then you follow it up with like Starburst babies, but they don't have Starburst lollies anymore.
No, they don't.
They just continue.
On that, I feel like my go-to, if I'm in like a hurry, is similar. So it's tuna, mayo, like whether it's Kewpie or normal mayo, whatever.
Kewpie mayo is the best.
I'm not fussy. Pickles.
Yeah.
Chopped up into it. And then you make this like dip and then you have it with crackers.
Yum.
That's like my go-to. If I'm like in a rush and I don't have time to cook anything, I'm like tuna, mayo, lots of salt and pepper.
Yep.
Sometimes if I want to be a little bit bougie, I'll put sesame seeds in it, but like
that's iconic.
Can be without, but very similar.
Very similar.
What's the weirdest, most random side project you've ever done? May or may not have seen the light of day.
Well, there was one. So my cousin and I once created this concept we wanted to have our own bagel stand, and we're going to call it Bay Gals, as in Bay Gals, and we'd have to sell these bagels by a bay, but then Bay Gals, and each bagel would be named after a famous, like important female figure, but they'd be from different countries. So there would be one like the Frida Kahlo, and it'd be a Mexican themed one, and so all these ones from different countries, and there were the bagels, but we never did it.
We could still do it.
We could still do it.
Yeah.
What's another?
There's any bagel collaborations out there?
Yeah, anyone wants to collaborate with the bagel, I love a bagel. I tried to order a bagel this morning with Shania. They were sold out.
That's sad.
That was sad.
What's your go-to bagel topping then? Or is it just...
Well, it's either the jalapeno cream cheese schmear, or one that I've done. I'm sure they do it at cafes, but cream cheese and Nutella mixed together. Stunning.
Crazy.
So good.
I really like on a plain bagel, cream cheese and jam.
Yeah, see, that would be good.
Yeah, vibe. Anyway, What is the most expensive thing that you've purchased recently that's not related to what you do for work? Because I know that you just bought the DJI, but
That was great. Love that so much. The car. Yeah.
mum car.
My mum car.
What did you get?
I got a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Do you love it?
Love it. I'm obsessed with it. No, because it's got all the cameras and shit. It's so good.
Okay.
I feel like
I'm looking at getting a new car this year.
Couldn't recommend higher.
Okay.
It's so good. You get 1,000 Ks for a tank.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely go down the Toyota route.
Oh,
yeah.
They're indestructible, capped warranty, like capped service, like 7-year warranty. I feel like a salesperson, like a car salesperson.
Toyota, if you're listening.
Toyota. But no,
this woman a brand deal.
The best. I'm not joking.
What is one thing that you think that helps keep a business top of mind or a brand?
The way it makes someone feel, because you know how businesses, like, you've got to solve an issue, you've got to solve a problem, you've got to this, you've got to that. Yes, but also, how do you make that person feel? When you stumble across a brand, does it make you feel nostalgic? Does it make you feel, like, I think feeling is everything. Emotions are everything. If you can tie something to emotion, it becomes memorable. If you can tie something to an emotion that you've already felt in the past, it's something that you hold on to, you know? So how can you make it so that someone's like emotionally now tied to that brand? That's everything, because there are so many brands out there that solve problems that you never think of again, you know?
Yeah. Last question. Let's say 5 years from now, no, or 10 years from now, what do you hope people say about you?
That I help change their relationship with themselves.
I love that.
Thank
You've
you.
certainly done that for me already. So, tick. But that's so nice.
Thank you.
So nice. That's everything. I can't believe we've spoken for 90 minutes.
I know.
I feel like this time flies.
I
mean, it's the same as when we go for dinner or catch up. I'm
It is.
like, what? It's like,
and then we're the last one standing and they're trying to shoo us off the table. Well, like, we will not give you a tip.
Okay, side note. Let's just talk about that for a hot second.
A hot second.
We went to dinner the other night and Alexis and I found ourselves talking about tips and tipping. We've both been to the States before, and obviously tipping culture in America is very different to tipping culture here in Australia because of the difference in base wage and salaries. We firmly agree that tipping shouldn't be a prerequisite of paying for dinner.
No.
Or paying
and
for
I think
anything.
if you want to tip in Australia, you go ahead and tip in Australia. And I have tipped if the service is exceptional or, you know, that was super helpful, went out of their way, whatever. I'm happy to tip, okay? And also, if you're paying cash for something, you got a few extra dollars, keep the change, that kind of vibe, you know. But what I don't like in Australia, we're not a tipping culture. We pay enough as it is. Meals are expensive in Australia. Like, don't change the culture. Already we're paying top dollar to go out for dinner. And they come with you with this thing of like, what tip do you want to give before you click, can I just pay? So I don't like that vibe. If you want to tip, but I don't like this, hey, what do you want to tip beforehand? Because then it feels
built into that payment process.
And the person's standing there, hovering. So then a lot of people end up, and I know for a fact, a lot of people end up clicking, yes, I'll tip, because they feel pressured. Then that defeats the purpose of a tip.
Of course.
Like, that's not a tip.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that we were talking about was like the psychological side of things, that like they present it to you, they're standing right there. It's like, do you want a tip? And it's like, well, not really. Like, you get paid to be here. You've done your job. Yeah, it's been good. But like, you've not done anything above average or like above what I would have expected.
Exactly.
And therefore, I don't think that it should be built into the payment process.
It should not.
Like, if there's maybe once you pay, it's like, would you like to leave a tip? Then psychologically, from an experience point of view,
would you like to leave a tip? It should just be like, here's the payment thing, and then you can tap, and there could be a tiny button that says, you know, leave a tip as an option. But if I tap, it still accepts my payment. But here you've got to go like, no tip, and then like a psychopath.
And I wonder how many people have just like left tips and like
the amount of times I've like awkwardly, now I'm like whatever, but I used to go like 5% and just for a coffee.
Yeah.
Like, on what planet?
No. And like we were talking about it where we were just like, no, we both like looked at it. We like made eye contact with the person that was there. And we're like, no tip.
No tip.
Tap.
Also, this restaurant, while it was epic, it was like, it's one offering on the menu, and you just, so like, what service? I'm sorry. Like they take, and then they bring the meal. It was delicious.
The food was so quick.
It was great.
Streamlined.
But you're not, that's the kitchen, if anything.
Yeah.
You know what I
Not
mean?
the server.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. Anyway, thank you so much for being my first repeat guest. I've loved having you on the podcast. I love the insights that you share, and I love, honestly, having these milestones like 2 years on from our last podcast where I'm like, wow, that's what we were talking about then, and this is what we're talking
I need to listen to that episode now. I'm interested.
Honestly, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It was such a nice reminder to be like, wow, we were at such different stages in our lives and our careers. And now 2 years on, I'm like, same, but different.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
The
Thank
evolution.
you for giving me your time, because you are a very busy girl.
Thank you for having me.
You're a podcaster, you're a neuroscientist, you're an author 4 times.
Don't even, I know.
Crazy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode. Remember, you don't win by posting more. You win by being the name they think of first. Stay top of mind.